Please welcome Ben Gabler to the stage.
Thank you. Hope everybody had a good lunch. Big shout out to Nathan and the Founder500 team. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. One of the things that really piqued Nathan's interest about me talking at this conference was my approach to product. And whenever I find myself building a product or a business, I start with a press release. So back in 2013, I had worked at GoDaddy, and one of the first things I did on day one was wrote a press release. And my boss comes up to me and he says, "Where'd you learn that?" What do you mean? Like, I just, School of Hard Knocks. I don't know. It just makes sense. I want to find my aha moments and what we're going to actually build and stick to it. So, when we think about like, what is Rocket, we've gone from 0 to, over $1 million in ARR. We cleared 101,000 last month, just an absolutely incredibly epic month. And one of the things, a lot of the things that I want to talk about is, patience, discipline, and strategy, right? So when we think about, who are we? We were founded in 2020, largest customer, 110,000 ARR, pretty unheard of in the hosting world. It was a new one for me. I've never had a hosting customer spend that much money, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. We're based out of South Florida. We do over 175 terabytes a month. I think now we're at 100. And we have staff all over the world with some pretty nice logos that are on the platform. So what I want to talk about is our recipe for success and some of the things that weren't successful. Getting off the ground, making a big bet on our brand, and achieving that $1 million in ARR. So how we got off the ground with less than $30,000. Sounds crazy, but over the last 20 years, I've been able to make some really good contacts in different development areas. I've worked with some pretty incredible people that are here today that have taught me a lot, giving me my PhD in software engineering. And it really went a long way building a tech company, was actually understanding what happens behind the scenes, but also keeping in mind that my customers never need to know or care what happens behind the scenes. They need to know the solution. What are you doing for me? So, building a plan without boiling the ocean. WP Engine, one of my biggest competitors, they're all a couple blocks away. They've been doing this for years. I'm not going to go beat them. Rome wasn't built in a day, the famous saying. But what I can do is compete, and I can find a way to break out with some really unique things on my platform, because everybody in this industry is looking left. I'm going to right and do something different and actually provide value for your business. First line of code to MVP was 72 days. If you're not ashamed and embarrassed by your MVP, you waited too long. Everybody in this room has probably heard that, and it's true, honestly. If you look at our first version, you're like, wow, like Sean Hannity hosted his website on that. He didn't care what it looked like behind the scenes. He just cared that he got a 99% cache hit ratio, and everybody around the world was able to access his website, and he didn't get hacked during the election. Not political, but a nice claim to fame for Rocket.net. And then the other one is leveraging relationships, startup programs. We didn't pay for a server for the first year. Had some friendships and relationships, startup credits, and kind of walking through that. So let's start with the press release. Starting with a press release gives you discipline. You will figure out what you're going to build, nothing more, nothing less. Creep, this is it. And what it also does is it helps you sort of find your product market fit, and it will change 20 times over and over again. But again, you have something to march towards versus just burning money, time, and energy. And, what is your product? Who is it for? What problems does it solve? How is it different than what WP Engine is doing today? Who are you? Why should they buy your product? You're brand new. Why should I trust you with my business? Agencies have millions of dollars worth of business that they do. Why should they trust me? Why? And what are the benefits? Like, outline it. What is this going to actually do for you? And when you have that written down and you rewrite it for a couple of days, and you finally get to where you're happy, you come up with a blueprint and you stick to it. The next thing is don't ever use the word perfect. It doesn't exist. This is a SaaS, for the most part, based conference. Software has bugs, right? And I can't stress this enough. You know how many bugs are in this iPhone? A lot. We all get mad at it, and what do? We reboot it, and then we buy the next version because we like iPhones, right? So you'd be crazy to think software doesn't have bugs. But what I did is I said, cool, how can I build this and not burn a hole in my account and have my wife eating ramen noodles, right? I took things off the shelf and put them together behind the scenes, knowing my customers would never see it, and I presented a solution in a way that hasn't been done before in this industry. Back to the startup programs and partnerships, there's Secret. I highly recommend it. Zendesk, live chat, all the tools that your competitors or other big companies that are using, free. 6 months, 12 months, thousands of dollars in cloud credits. Stop paying for it. Go sign up at Secret. It's $, find the coupon, right? Reach out. Contact some of these Phoenix Naps of the world that are not Google Cloud or Amazon and say, hey, I want to build something. Can I get a startup credit? And they'll give it to you. Cloudflare, all of them. You can do it. That's what we did. So we had a product. I was on Brand Bucket, and I'm like, what do we call this thing, right? Naming a startup is hard, right? It's like naming your child. Me and my wife, Lily, this, Kenna, oh, okay, well, we pick one. Then it turns out the next step that I'll go over is domain names matter, and then you have a great name, now what? So naming a startup, it's a screenshot of our Slack conversation. I was on Brand Bucket. Here's some keywords, fast. I know we're going to be at the edge. I know we're doing hosting. Let me see what comes up. Went through a bunch of different names, and Launch Shot, World Site, Edge Easy, Cloud City, on Rocket. That makes sense. It's fast. Rocket. Startups like to do Git render, Git whatever the name is, or on cloud, whatever the name might be. That's a great idea until you put it on a billboard and nobody knows how the hell to find you. And that's when we knew, okay, we got to do something about this. We've already invested in this name. We've got some customers, but how do we make it better? So I called Michael at VPN.com. In my opinion, the best domain broker. I've been doing this for 20 years, worked at GoDaddy. I said, hey, I want rocket.com. He laughed. I knew why he laughed. It's probably a $10 million domain name. It's owned by an aerospace company. So I said, okay, I get it. They're not returning calls. Well, what about .net? We can do that. And it turns out now that I was able to say, hey, we're rocket.net, the benefits are just incredible. Somebody posts a review about us on Facebook, we're automatically a link. And it's nothing to do with SEO, but it's just when somebody says, oh, I love rocket.net, they're a great company, that's a link. Nobody has to go Google us, they just click. So there's a lot of benefits to having a very good domain name. Highly recommend taking a look at it. Brand Bucket, you can usually get a pretty solid name for $3,000 or less, give or take. But then it's like, okay, cool, we've got this $50,000 domain name and we're doing $13,000 a year in revenue. Are we crazy? Absolutely. We're all crazy in this room. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But there was nothing. So what we did is we said, people are trying to Google us and there's just nothing out there. So we started doing some cold outreach to different review websites and influencers and these different places to say, hey, write us a review. We'll give you free hosting. Try it out. If you like it, cool. 7 out of 10 became paying customers because they were just blown away by the product. And it truly was not our goal. Like, we did not expect to actually get revenue out of that. But our largest customer actually came from that outreach. So, one of the things is, somebody had mentioned in a talk earlier, why would you go spend that on Google? I agree. Google for WordPress hosting is $20 a click. I don't know about you, but I don't have money like that. I've had a pretty good career, but that's pretty crazy. So getting people to actually put the content out there and push our brand as brand ambassadors went a really long way. So you have a product, you have a service, use that as your buying power for some of these influencers and reviews. It goes a very long way. And you end up getting some very good feedback. Even if it's bad feedback, it's not going on Trustpilot, it's going to your inbox and you can do better. Highly recommend it. So $1 million in ARR with $0 in successful ad spend. We wasted $70,000 on marketing agencies because they just did not get our product. Hosting is a very, very hard industry to be in, especially this day and age. I've been doing it since 2002, and even back then, it's still a very tricky industry to break out in. So where do you start? Right? What do you do? You don't have deep pockets. How do you get your customers, friends, family, marketing with no budget, so the initial growth, landing your first 100 customers. Very, very difficult thing to do, but friends, family, everybody in between, J2 Global, publicly traded company. This guy right here worked there. I called him up and said, hey, you guys use WordPress. You're hosting with me now. And I got a logo. And it was literally my first customer. So I kept going down the line and calling my friends and going out to different groups and figuring out who I could host. And what happens is people see him hosting with us, and it creates like the snowball effect. So, every customer is effectively a brand ambassador if you put them to work the right way. So marketing, it's expensive, but not always, right? So what's really propelled Rocket is these customers that have signed up. They're talking about us on Facebook. We have never, ever, ever asked somebody, hey, can you go post on Facebook? It's heavily frowned upon, and somebody's going to find out that you did it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Let your product and your mission and everything you do shine, and they will talk about you. Get involved on social media. What I did is I joined press groups. I started giving help on CDNs, caching, security, just unbiased help. And if you clicked on my profile, it said I was the CEO and founder of Rocket.net, and hopefully people got to our site, and they did. Back to providing free service to influencers. You really have nothing to lose. Your product is usually in a SaaS business. There's not a whole lot of cost. I wasn't hosting Hannity for free. That would be expensive. But Tony's blog, no problem. And again, back to leverage friends and family to spread the buzz. I probably did ask my friend to write a review on Trustpilot, an honest one. Never said, hey, copy and paste. But, building up that reputation is what really helps a business in the beginning, because people are just very skeptical of new companies. And, one of the main things, hosting, you could buy at WP Engine, you could buy at Kinsta, you could buy at GoDaddy. But what really makes Rocket different is not just our fancy, unique selling propositions. I'd be delusional if I thought my competitors were not going to market share and copy what we're doing. They're trying every day, and they'll get it. But what really sets us aside is our customer service. And it's because everything we do in this company is focused on customer success, one way or another. So our OKR, our objective, is success for the customer. Whether it's a support ticket, whether it's a live chat, whether it's optimizing their website, whatever it is, whatever we do at Rocket, it's always for the customer. And in the very beginning, one of the questions, the things I got a lot was, this is an amazing service. How are you going to yourself? And it's with these amazing people right here, all over the world. And I'm in the trenches with them every single day. We're helping customers and working together. And it's gone such a long way. And, for me as a founder, we all get hung up on ARR and raising rounds and this, that, and the other. But for me, is creating jobs was incredible, and happiness. That's what it's about. And I have a thing that I say at Rocket, and it's we all win or nobody wins. And the talk I heard this morning that talks about profit sharing, I am implementing that at Rocket when I get home. It is a phenomenal approach to taking care of your team, because at the end of the day, that's the number one thing that matters the most. Because without your team, once you scale, you are nothing. The second big secret, customer-driven product development. I think it was, I don't know who said that. It slips my mind right now, but there's a famous quote. If Henry Ford would have asked, what you wanted as a customer, you would have said faster horses instead of a car. So I agree with that to some extent. People didn't know they needed Cloudflare Enterprise sitting in front of all of their WordPress sites, but they knew they needed fast and secure WordPress sites. So once I solved that problem, I opened the door up for my customers to talk to us and tell us. Our biggest customer had a huge problem with clients going in and breaking their websites and blaming them for it. So I built an activity log feature, and he literally sent me a wall of text last week thanking me because a customer jumped down his throat for losing $50,000, and he proved it was their marketing guy that did it, and he was off the hook. So, when it comes to actually, listening and having a customer-driven roadmap to some extent, you obviously have to leave room for innovation, R&D, and your own things internally. But doing it with the right balance, you will set yourself apart from anybody. I mean, a hosting company going from 0 to $1 million in ARR with no marketing is just unheard of. But this is how we did it. Listen to the customers, and we're able to move faster than any of our competitors. Activity logging feature at WP Engine, it'd take 6 to 12 months for them to even figure out what they want to build. Whereas we're built in a modern environment, all modern frameworks, end-to-end test suites, API first, things that just don't exist in our industry because people just don't, I like to say we're a SaaS platform that's focused on WordPress hosting. And that's been a big differentiator for us. That's it. Thank you.